welcome everybody to the budget meeting, budget workshop. We have a couple extra council members and some folks inside to participate in watching this thing, and we're glad to have those of you who are interested, and thank you for coming. Primarily tonight, as far as the first meeting goes, passed out some information. I passed out some copy of the last year's budget. You'll notice on the right side of that budget, there's I've already started kind of plugging in some numbers. These are numbers that typically don't usually change a whole lot. The numbers that are there, of course, are subject to, you know, whatever approval when we start through this process. And just want to give you that information so that you can use that whenever, you know, we start going through it. Tish has, you should have a copy of, this is a breakdown of the different expenses and revenue that's come in. Pardon?
I just want to let everybody know, the first total on the first line is what we spent year to date, and on the second line is what we're projected to spend for 12 months. And I've tried to write it out and make it as easy to understand as possible.
Yeah, it looks like most of the stuff, you know, we're still under budget, and in fact, I don't remember if I saw one that was not under budget, but there may be one there.
We're projected to be $596.21 over budget for electricity.
Oh, electricity, okay.
And I'm sure everybody knows it has natural gas. Atmos has sent out 2 notices in the last 12 months that they've had to raise their gas prices, so we're going to be about $3,000 over budget for our natural gas. And some of that's going to come from a gas leak, and some of that's going to come from the increase in prices, and some of it's going to come from keeping the community center warm during the severe weather monsoon.
Yeah.
Where is that Atlas on here? Is it on this?
Yeah, it's on the, it's the
At the very top, I've just read.
And I got some information from the appraisal district just before I left to go home for a little bit. And it's this certified values of like the tax levy. You'll notice on the one that I have printed that I've got the numbers on where it says tax revenue right at the very top. I've got, initially they had reported $275,123. The certified copy that I have for the total levy is actually 297. You might want to write that on your 297, 384, 41. And that revenue has gone up for the last 3 years. So that's a good thing. Leaves us a little extra money to play with, you know, as far as the new tax year, for the new year to be, budget year to be plugged in there. So, and there'll be adjustments like this, you know, as we go through it. You can begin to compare the information that Tish has printed out for us, and there's some, you know, there'll be some lines that we're going to have to look at to see if those things need to be adjusted. But all the lines that are listed on the computer-generated copy, all the stuff in yellow was what from last year, of course, and you know, we're projected to be, you know, have a surplus, but the surplus was pretty small, like $2,400. So we will have a little more than that, you know, because of salaries and that sort of thing. So we'll have to make some adjustments over the course of this project that we're doing, so. We'll be meeting, every week, initially to get started. Wanted to start a little earlier this year so that we can have time to go through and discuss, all the different line items. Now the tax, sales tax revenue, let's see, did you have a number on the sales tax revenue?
We have actual income so far this year has been $122,061.12 at the current rate of payment. The projected is $146,473.32. So it's a little less than we had figured. We had budgeted $180,000.
What did I see there? Is it on mine?
No, that's what I was working on.
Oh, okay.
This is all expenditures, and there's still a few more expenditures I need to do. And then if you wanna look at income that I figured too for.
Sales tax, property tax.
Will you make us a copy of that?
Sure. Franchise income stays pretty pretty static.
I'm not gonna tear it off because I have more income to do, but I'm gonna donate you guys a copy of what I have.
Can we ask a question? It was just about property taxes. I know that September 1st, that new law is supposed to go into effect, that they're passing at the state level, so I don't know, that's kind of FYI.
Yeah, I don't know how that's going to impact us, right this minute, but,
Well, if they're over 65 or disabled, they're exempt up to $200,000. If their house is less than $200,000, the city is not going to see a lot of that.
well, I don't know how that's going to affect the line. I mean, it will. I just don't.
Yeah, I didn't know if y'all had read that, because it's supposed to all change September 1st. That's why they haven't given us our property tax statements yet for the year, because they didn't know what it was going to be.
So eventually, I hope that we can, once we kind of get all the numbers better situated, I will try to go into this program that I have and plug in where we're at, as far as, and a lot of this will be duplicated off of what you have here that's written. And, that process will hopefully start taking shape.
And when Larry starts putting them into his program, he'll figure out what I forgot to figure.
Well, I mean, that's why it's such a, budget time is such a pain, I think, because, everything is pretty much mentally calculated, I guess, for lack of a better description. I mean, we know what's coming in. Some of the things we have to extrapolate out, because this is where we are every how many months, and then we expect that over the next few months we'll arrive at this level. So it's never a perfect number, and so at the end of the day, when we get through and we end up with with the more in the till, then that's a good thing. And so far in the last, really since 2020, and that's really where we kind of drew a line in the sand and started and averaged out the 8 different years and ran on it that first year. And the first year we actually had money left over. And so every year we've had a little money left over. And because of some of the monies that's come in with their grants and Recovery Act and COVID Act and things like that, we haven't had to spend extra money, on what we normally have in the budget. But those monies were put in for like infrastructure and those kinds of things. So that, in a way, all those terrible 2 years or whatever, how often, nearly 3 years, I guess, it played to our benefit, because it gave us extra money to get some things done that needed to be done, like monies that we spent on the sewer plant and that sort of thing. So, at any rate, well, this thing will begin to kind of fine tune itself as we work through, going through the line by line thing the way that we do. You know, folks have helped us over the years, served on the council, that no longer on the council, but, we have, folks that have, put a good bit of time into getting this thing to something that we can effectively manage. So that's a good thing. This process, I think, is made easier because of the work of those folks that, kind of hunkered down with us, in the beginning and helped us get this thing rolling. Let's see. I don't know too much about where we're at on a lot of the bigger items, because we don't know exactly what all the numbers are going to be in the days to come. Once we do the comparing and plugging in, then we'll have a better way or better opportunity to plug in things. You'll notice too that in last year when we took on the PD budget, that we have that in the system as well. And I believe Chris told me the other day that he's running under budget, for this year, which is a good thing. So through whatever savings impact that he's been able to plug in, and a lot of work that he and the officers have done over the course of the year, has turned out a good thing. And even though people might question, where and what monies are going out and why we get this or why we do other things, the bottom line is that so far, as far as the city and the police department's concerned, we're under budget, which speaks good, for us as a city. It doesn't, we're not having to do crazy things to try to move things. So we will have opportunity to move monies around as we get closer to that time when we feel like that we have a more static number on each particular line. We may have to add lines or take lines away. You'll notice there's zeros in a lot of the places there, and that's because we no longer are using that particular line for budgeting. So it's still there. And if we should happen to have an item that we need to put money in or make a new line, I mean, we can do that. We have that flexibility. Last year we let's see if I can get out on. We had at the end of the budget year, let's see, we had 1.25 $1,250,000, $393. Couldn't get on the columns working together there, but that seemed pretty good and a lot better than we have in the last 5 years. So I think overall we've been doing a pretty good job, and I know that we may have some things like in the city, we may need to increase some things like street materials, that sort of thing. We may need to put a few more things in that.
Do you know if there's been an increase in cost for us over the last couple of years?
Yeah, definitely.
Material?
Costs have certainly gone up. Like street material, when we get cold mix and whatever, we actually get it from the county. We pay what they pay, and the only extra cost involved in that is fuel to move.
Has that cost gone up over the past couple of years?
Yes, it has. Yeah, it's gone up. Yeah. Yeah.
I think this last year it's gone up probably close to 25%.
It's I'm hoping with some of the legislation and everything that Trump's doing, I hope it'll force some of that stuff back down. I hope. never count on that until you see it.
That's right.
So, so anyway, there'll be some things like that, some costs that we'll have to render into the equation. I don't know if there's any other revenue other than what we're currently seeing. I know that court revenue has been up thanks to the work of guys in PD, partially, certainly, and then, you know, the work that our law enforcement, well, the judge and court clerk, and of course PD has all been involved in that process, but PD revenue that's brought in, you know, for the court, through the court system, sort of thing. I mean, that's not something that we can count for revenue in the system. I mean, the city only gets a small portion of that when all the state and funds and that sort of thing go out. So, you know, it's not something that we can count. There's actually laws against that, so we can't include that into a revenue thing. It's just kind of whatever we end up getting out of it, you know, for the city. You know, we just count that as, I guess, as a bonus, I guess, for lack of a better term. So, you know, there's things like that that's just built into the system, and I think a long time ago, you know, cities used to do speed traps and try to put money, you know, get money into the system that so they could use it for whatever reason. That's actually been a long time ago when they changed that. I don't know what you think about the dates and everything, but you know, those kinds of things have never, or has been gone by the wayside for a while now. Let's see. Health insurance, of course, is something that actually has gone up 15% this year. Last year, it had gone down like 17%. Currently, it's gone back up. I spoke to the agents the other day. They're going to go out to the market and take a look and see if there's anything any better. But we'll have to know about what those costs and stuff are as we go through the next couple of months. Those numbers may be affected by, you know, depending on, you know, what's going on with, you know, with everything else. So
We're actually considerably under budget on health insurance. Almost $20,000 over budget.
yeah, that's good. All that, you know, that means that, you know, we haven't had a lot of payout. Now, with Texas Health, we're in a pool. We're in a pool, folks. Everybody who's members of that pool, some people may have, you know, catastrophic losses or whatever. Other folks may not have a whole lot, but it all calculates into what they're going to charge. And they notified me a couple of weeks ago that they would be going up 15%, but that's still 2% under what we were last year. And so far, I mean, I hadn't heard anybody talk about complain about the benefits and that sort of thing. So I'm assuming that all those things are going well. I know I went to a seminar with Texas Health, I guess a month or so ago, and they talked about the different things that they do. And you know, if you're on that program, you know, looking at, you know, things like wellness plans, you know, they have wellness plans. It's actually part of the program that we're on. So, and you can actually get, you know, some kickback, that's probably not the right term, but you get some break, you know, if you're on those plans. So, you know, it's something to look forward to if we end up staying with them or anybody else. A lot of them, I understand, you know, are because health, keeping our health in good shape is a big deal nowadays, and so they're willing to offer discounts and first one thing if people are getting involved in those things. So we'll have to see how that goes.
Even with a 15% increase in what we've spent this year, or will spend this year, that's still almost $10,000 under budget.
So.
What is currently budgeted.
So that's, I mean, that's a good thing, you know, and once we know exactly what that number is going to be easier to budget, you know, and so like I say, we may have to move some money around in a couple of places. I'm excited to know that we don't have hardly any. We have a few lines that were actually over budget, but I think that's probably something that can be expected with any budget, that any company, you know, that works off those budgets. So we've come a long way in the last 5 years as far as budgeting is concerned, and this process is a lot easier, I believe. Yeah, I'm sure it's not perfect, but you know, if we can end up with money at the end of the year, then we've done a good job, in my view. Do y'all have any specific questions about any of the things that, just some interesting information if you're interested in it. The appraisal, let's see. The appraisal summary, I guess we're talking about the general worth of the property is somewhere around $61,000, the net appraised. Well, that's not right. It's 61,138,007. So properties are, you know, they went up last year on the appraisal district. That boosted that number up. Of course, it ended up, you know, we had to pay a little extra, you know, in our tax money, but at any rate, property was valued a little higher. Let's see. Tax value of new improvements around the property was nearly $3 million. There's property qualifying for exemptions for the first time, something over $12,000. Market value, average market value of residences, $86,000. Taxable value of residences, $72,800. So, Mr. James Godwin has been working hard this last year and a half, you know, to get the tax rolls up and tax out. I think he's doing a great job. I know he's communicating with us, and I'm sure other cities as well. So that looks good. There's still a lot of things from the appraisal district, like the maps that need to be upgraded, you know, about lots and property, who owns what property. I think I still own, according to the books, I still own her house and property over.
I just wish you guys paid taxes on it.
I'm just wondering how come I'm not getting the money, that's what I don't know. So those maps and stuff are woefully out of date, and hopefully, now I do know that they've hired other people, and they've been out a lot of money trying to get this stuff done up, so hopefully in the next few years, we'll have a more accurate view of what property and taxes and stuff is gonna be. So, but for right now, our tax revenue and sales revenue seems to be up, and, you know, we'll have a little money to do some things. The total, I know last year, the total revenue that we had coming in amounted to $1,247,851. Total expenses, get back over here. Oh, we finally paid off the IRS this past year too, so that was one of the chunks that came out. So total expenses was $1,253,993. So that's pretty close to what what our revenue was, we actually had a little extra money, at the top. I figure if you got zero and, or a plus, we did okay, you know.
Not in the hole anyway.
Yeah, not in a hole. The CDs and all those things are of course still in place. You know, we had to use a little money last year when we had to take on the responsibility of the budget for the PD. But that was a small chunk of where we were and where we are. So, you know, we'll have to see how that goes. I think that's about all I have to give you. If you want copies of this stuff, I will give you copies of that. And if you're going to use it, if you're just going to throw it away, well, you don't need it. But if you want to look at it, certainly can. I think that's it. I think I haven't got anything else I can tell you right now. Do y'all have any questions that, the thing we gotta do is get into the books, you know, and, look at it. We can, you know, we can get into, of course, you get a report every month as far as, you know, what we spend and that sort of thing. So, you know, you can tie all that stuff together if you need to. That's it. I mean, any questions, anything that, anybody wants to?
This helps tremendously. I appreciate you doing this, because I
Yeah.
know that's a lot of work, but I appreciate that.
Well,
Because it will help tremendously going through this process.
and I'm convinced, yeah, and I'm convinced too, that, I mean, if we have to get somebody to help us with the QuickBooks or whatever, we should be able to get that done electronically without me going in and plugging it in on my stuff, you know, which I can do. It's just if you do it electronically, you just hit the button and tell it to go. So anyway, I mean, that's part of the work that we continue to try to upgrade and get to. Some of it's just, we don't know how to do some of it. And, you know, changing folks ever so often creates a problem. Okay? Just take the stuff, do your homework, and we'll meet. What is Wednesday or Thursday a good day for?
Thursdays are better for me right
Okay.
now.
And
What about you?
she has. I probably should have done this at 5:30 so she wouldn't have to stay 30 minutes up here just twiddling her thumbs. But I know she didn't do that. She was working on the other stuff. But so it's 5:30. Okay for you? And
I'm retired. Long time not taking a nap.
well, no, but you know, Brad, you got to take care of Brad. You got to fix his supper. You got to do all that.
Brad can fend for his
Oh,
life.
Turned him right.
We got a song.
why did I know that was going to be the answer? I don't know. But
I may come talk to you then.
and she's already nearly broke me. I mean, so I, you know,
How many years y'all been married? You haven't got that figured out yet?
57.
Tomorrow, 57.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Well, happy anniversary.
Thank you.
That's a long time.
I'm getting slower and don't want to cook.
I understand.
I've been cooking for 57 years.
Yeah, somebody has to show up. You know, going to be here for a meal before she'll throw out everything. You know, but I'm glad to come by. I get to eat.
You look like you missed
I
some
know
meals.
it. You know, I really can't complain. I told the doctor the other day. He said something about, you know, you need to lose about 10 or 12 more pounds. I've lost about 30, but you know, and so we're gradually going down. And he said, "Who's doing the cooking?" I said, "Well, she is. I mean, she's a good cook." I said, "Yeah, she's a good cook. Look at me, you know." So.
He said, not as much potatoes. And I said, well, I fixed a bowl about this big, about that big. I put 3 sticks of butter in it and my milk and.
It's good
I
stuff.
said,
Smashed
"Look, we
potatoes
have
and potatoes and
leftovers."
ham, boy.
We have leftovers and we have fried potato patties and
Yeah.
whatever. So.
I love potato patties.
Ooh, we do.
And then we food for breakfast the next morning. So
We
it's
had
not-
an extra yesterday.
So So anyway, I mean, that's it. No questions or anything like that. Let's just go to work and start plugging away. Make notes and, you know, ask questions as we go through and, you know, if we can knock this thing out by, I mean, we have to have it done by the end of September, but if we can knock it out by the 1st of September, then we can just sail through that month, you know, and
I like saying.
So then, for those that want to come to the budget, the public that wants to come, it's going to be Thursdays at 5:30?
Thursday at 5:30.
Okay, and,
We'll be meeting every week for, you know, for a little while, and, so once we get things, you know, going in a good slice, we may not have to meet every week, but,
okay, and then, forgive my questions, this is something, you know, I was wondering, because I know somebody's going to end up asking me later. Can the public get a copy of what y'all have, or is it once it's completed, we can
well,
get a
you can
copy?
wait till once it's completed, because this is a work in progress. I mean, if somebody had the numbers, they might not know really what it's all about, or might get confused. You can ask for things by putting in a budget, I mean, a request, but, you know, there's kind of a moot point to ask for a working piece of paper, you know.
I kind of figured the same thing right now, but I just figured somebody's going to ask me later if I got a copy of it. And
Well, just tell them to call City Hall. you
Yeah,
know,
okay.
And then fill out the necessary, you know, paperwork, and so. If you end up, if we get too many, you know, requests, there may end up being a slight charge for printing, you know, it depends on what it is, but, it's usually not much. But I guess that is, I mean, you know, once we have it all done, and once it's presented to the council, then we have to have a public hearing and that sort of thing, so. Yeah, I mean, everything is, as far as open meetings and open, you know, public information and that sort of thing, you know, we have rules that we have to follow there, so. Okay, I guess we're done, guys. I appreciate you coming up and getting this thing started. It's always a challenge, but not as much as it used to be. All right, we're done. Thanks a lot.